Hey, what's up guys? In this video I want to talk about how you can fully prepare a model in Blender for exporting, whether that's into a game engine, into Substance Painter, Marmoset, whatever. There's a very specific process you need to take. It is confusing if you don't know where to begin. That's what I want to show you in this video. Now I've also created a free reference guide to go along with this video, so make sure you pick that up as well. It's going to be useful, especially if you forget some of the steps. There's a link to that in the top of the description. So right here I have this knife, and let's say, I wanted to take this into another software like Substance or to bake it in Marmoset. So what I would have to do is do a few separate preparations, otherwise it won't work. The main key here is triangulation. I'm going to kind of show you how to set all that up. Now, if I were making this into a game asset, a lot of this detail I would remove, like these little dots. I could easily bake that detail. Same with that raven, same with this thing. Most of this detail could be baked, but for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to use the basic knife here. Okay, so yeah, let's assume you've done all your optimization work. If you want to make this into a game asset, you would have to optimize it. You can pick up our new game asset course if you want to learn about that. But mainly what you need to do on your model is you need to go in here just to one of these objects, and a lot of you are probably going to have like multiple separate pieces on yours. Add a triangulate modifier, and then we're going to go over here to the keep normals button. What this is going to do is just avoid any shading issues. You can kind of think of it as the weighted normal modifier for the triangulate modifier, basically. I always keep this ticked on. Now you don't have to change any of these. I found that these two default methods are fine, and you're just going to kind of see how it works. You can always go in here and kind of play with that if you really want to, but I haven't found much of a benefit there. Now the nice thing about Blender is what Blender does is Blender automatically triangulates in such a way that it does not cause overlaps. Oftentimes what'll happen is, let me show you for example, if I had a bevel here and I made it really big, you'd eventually kind of start running into overlaps. But with Blender, the triangulations don't actually cause those. Now if I were to export this into like Substance Painter or Marmoset, they have their own triangulation algorithms, and what happens is some of these triangulations end up connecting at a point where it kind of causes an overlap, and then it won't be able to be displayed properly. So this is why it's essential to triangulate inside of Blender, because Blender actually has a really good modifier for that, and you don't have to do too much extra work here. Okay, cool. So now what we need to do is make sure everything else has the triangulation set up as well. So we're just going to go to Edit Preferences and make sure the Copy Attributes add-on is enabled, okay? And then what we can do is select everything. Make sure this is selected first, the one you've already triangulated. Press A to select everything else, and then Control C, copy selected modifiers, and then we can do Triangulate. Now this is where things kind of get confusing, and let me show you why. The first thing that needs to be mentioned is you always want to make sure your bevel modifier is set to one segment. If it's not set to one segment, what's going to actually happen is if you try to bake ambient occlusion, for example, you're going to get these crazy long, weird baking lines. And that's because a one segment, I think I mentioned this in my last video, but a one segment is technically a hard edge. It's above that 30-degree threshold. And if this were 3, then it would be a more round edge, and that actually doesn't bake properly inside of different softwares. So you always want to make sure your bevel is set to one segment. So basically all of these have a bevel on it. So usually what I'd do if I was making a game asset, for example, is I would go in and just make sure all of these are set to, 1, for example. So I'm pretty sure there's only a few of these, so I'll just do it manually here. And that should be enough. Now this is the stage where a lot of people get confused, so make sure you pay specific attention here. What a lot of people do is whenever they're done with their model, they like to join everything together, and that's fine. It's actually probably a good idea if you want to have one single mesh. So what a lot of people will do is they'll select one piece and then select everything else and then just press Ctrl J. Now the issue with this is every single other piece that isn't the active selection, so basically all these outlined in orange, all of these are going to be overridden by the modifiers on this piece right here. So basically this bevel with this size and segment count and all these modifiers will basically be overridden onto these pieces. And this can be problematic because some of these pieces probably have different bevel sizes, and if you override it, you might get bigger bevels, and that would just cause overlaps on the mesh. And let's see if that actually happened here. I don't think it did in this case, but let's say we, maybe reverse the selection and join it to that one instead. Press Control J and see if there's any overlaps anywhere. I'm trying to find a good example here. Or maybe, for example, let's say this piece had like a really, really large bevel, and then I joined it with the rest of the piece. So you're just going to see like it overrides that bevel and goes crazy. So you want to make sure you don't actually override the bevels. You want to make sure you apply all the modifiers beforehand. So what I do here, I make sure I save a copy, because you want to have a copy before you go destructive and apply all your modifiers, because there's rarely any situation in which you actually want to apply your bevel, but in this case we are, okay? So what we're going to do is just save a copy. You can go here and click Save Copy, or you can simply use Power Save, which will do the same thing. So now we're going to have two separate files, so we can always go back to the old one. And then at this point what we do is we select everything, we press Control A, and then apply visual geometry to mesh, and that will basically apply all the modifiers. And now you're going to see that bevel is actually baked in, so we can't change anything at this point, which is why we have the old file. And then at this point it's really easy, because since the bevel is now baked in, the modifiers are applied. Now if we were to try to join, everything together, maybe we had like a really big piece right here. I already applied the bevel there, but once you join everything now, nothing's going to get overridden because everything is baked into the mesh. And this is exactly the approach you want whenever you're preparing a model for export, especially game assets. And then finally, all that is left to do is just to, rename it. You can name this whatever you want. If you were doing like a high poly and a low poly version, you would probably just name it accordingly here, like knife_high. And you also want to make sure that these names are the same. I've had some issues in other softwares where if these don't match, it doesn't work, but maybe that was just back in the day. I don't think it matters as much anymore, but that's what I do. And then you're basically ready to export it. Also, if you need specific dimensions, make sure you, scale this down or up as needed, because right now this knife is like 17 meters tall, which is massive, but you can always go back in here and scale it down if necessary. And just kind of reset your origin, do all that basic stuff. And now you're just ready to go to the export panel and export it. And I usually do an FBX. And then you're going to see when you load it in, there's no issues. And let me just really quickly show you what would happen if we didn't go through this process and we just exported everything as is. So let's just say I didn't have the triangulate modifier and I didn't bother, applying everything beforehand. If I just went in and joined it with Control J, it looks like it's fine, but let's see what happens when I export it this time. Now you're going to see where the issues begin to occur. For example, notice how we have like collapsed geometry up here, whereas in Blender, it's fine. And that's because we didn't triangulate beforehand, and then when we brought it into Substance Painter, it tried to do it on its own and just caused a mess. So if you had like a quad-based mesh, you probably wouldn't run into these issues. So that is like a pro of having quads, is you don't really have to worry about triangulation in Blender as much. But if you are using n-gons, this is very important, because you're just going to have, depending on the area, some of it's okay, but in other areas you might actually have collapsed geometry, like right here, for example. So that's it for today's video. I hope these steps help you. A lot of people were asking me how you export things to other software because they were running into these issues. That's how you do it. And like I said, I also have a guide that I made like yesterday. If you just want to follow through those steps on a PDF instead, you can pick that up for free in the link in the top of the description and just use it as a reference. So that's it for today's video. Hope it helped, and I'll see you in the next one.